As a homeowner, I'm always working on something. As a builder, I get to see what works and what doesn't.
Hard water causes all those little white mineral deposits.
Right, your first number is always your width. Your second number would be your height.
If you live in an older home, chances are the windows have seen better days. Today on Building for Better Living, we'll check out window replacement options and gather a few tips on how to install one. But first, let's discover the benefits of soft water. Talk to us a little bit about why you don't want hard water in your house.
Well, hard water causes all those little white mineral deposits that a lot of people find on their faucets, right on the very bottom where the water comes out, or they have these little stains all over their glass on their shower doors that are really hard to get clean. On your shower head, you get the same little white mineral deposits that constantly clog up the shower head. Get it to where it doesn't let very much water out, and basically just creates a big problem. This here will actually soften all those mineral deposits so that you don't have that. It'll help keep your faucets clean. It'll get the hard water stains off of the glass in your shower. It also allows, when you're doing laundry, you don't have to use as much soap. It gets your clothes a lot cleaner, brightens your whites, and keep your colors looking good, and saves you money on laundry detergent.
So in a nutshell, you're not replacing your faucets every few years because that hard water has corroded them to where they don't even work. You're going to be able to keep your clothes longer because they're looking better, a lot longer. And so really, in the standpoint of saving money, this is going to help take care of what you already have and make it last longer. One thing you mentioned earlier was appliances. It's going to keep your appliances running longer.
That's right. I mean, mineral deposits, when they get into stuff, they get into places you can't even see. They create a coating on the inside of your pipes. When it goes through like your dishwashers or ice machines, all those little bitty waterways get packed with those mineral deposits, and eventually it basically blocks it to where no water gets through at all. It can cause the pumps to burn up, or other things that can go wrong with the appliance itself. And this here, like I said before, eliminates those water deposits, therefore increasing the life of your appliances. Basically, we have this two components of a water softener. This here is basically the brains. The gray plastic housing here is called the brine tank. This is where pretty much everything happens. This is where the contaminants are taken out of the water. This is where the water is softened. This thing here controls everything. Up here we have the head. This is, basically just tells things to open, close, and when to regenerate. This is the salt tank. It really just holds the salt. It's its only purpose, really. And basically how it works is you have the tube that runs from the softener, or the brine tank over here, into the back of the salt tank. It basically squirts a little bit of water inside and allows the salt to start to dissolve into the water. And then when it actually starts to soften the water, it vacuums the water out, or the salt water mixture out, into the brine tank, and takes out all the minerals that you don't want in the water, and basically creates soft water.
And then disperses that to the house based on your demand. Okay. So if somebody wanted to put some salt in here, it's really easy. Take the lid off, pour a bag of solar salt in there. Is that the most common use these days?
This is what I recommend. I recommend solar salt. One of the big reasons for it is the real small granules of salt. Sometimes with the pellets that are pretty common that people do use, they're big, and when they get wet, they start getting slimy and sticky, and they'll start to kind of stick together and create what's called a salt bridge. And basically what that does is, when you open your softener, you look in, looks like you have salt, you're fine. Underneath, what you can't see is there might not be anything there. So the softener's not actually be able to work. And it's basically just recycling clean water.
So this is just another money-saving tool for any homeowner out there. If you don't have one, I strongly recommend that you get one to make sure that everything keeps running smoothly in your home.
Today we're going to be going over one of the most overlooked efficiency losses in a home, and that's your ductwork. If your ductwork is not tight and air sealed, it's not going to operate properly. As you inspect your ductwork, look for 3 common areas: loose duct seams, loose duct connections, and duct boots. The second area of concern to be aware of in your attic space are the ductwork connections to the main trunk lines. In this case, he's got 6-inch flex line hose, which is already pre-insulated from the factory, and that's good. Flex line typically doesn't leak. What you need to be concerned about is where the flex line connects to the main trunk line. And in this case, we've got finger joints of ductwork that are clearly leaking and are loose. Each time your system turns on, the pressure from your ductwork will force air right into the open attic space, and force you to heat the outside. We're going to use a duct mastic compound to seal up those finger joints of the duct connections that we're worried about. And duct mastic compound can be purchased from your local hardware store or your HVAC supply store. It's a compound that's resistant to extreme temperatures during your hot and cold seasons, and will do a very good job of sticking to that galvanized aluminum metal. One advantage of sealing your ductwork is a less dusty home. This cellulose insulation is just recycled newspaper. But if your ductwork is leaky, every time your system kicks on, it's going to create a negative pressure inside that duct and suck this dust into your system, even after the filter, and put it right into your house. Sealing your ductwork is a great way to reduce the dust and allergens throughout your home.
For more information, visit our website at goenergylink.com.
Being here makes me smile a lot.
It's one place I don't have to worry about fitting in.
I learned how and why to make a difference.
Forum Christian Church, connecting, growing, living.
Wouldn't it be great if everything were free? You really can have free solar energy. With today's utility rebates and federal tax credits, solar energy can provide immediate cost savings on your utility bill and free electricity, often in just a few years. So why you have to keep paying for everything else? Find out how you can get free energy from the sun today. Missouri Solar Applications, a shining solution.
Closed captioning brought to you by
on Lamone Industrial Boulevard.
Today we're installing a window with Richard, who's been working as a carpenter for over 26 years.
57.
Richard, is there anything special about this install?
Well, we decided to replace the windows because the house has already been insulated and siding put on, and the windows they're getting to an age where they don't work very well. They have to be held up by sticks, and it'll save a lot of energy for the house this winter.
So when you talk about the window, basically they're not performing. You said they're held up with sticks. So if you want to open up the windows, you're putting a stick underneath there, which is not the practical way to do a window. Not to mention, not very safe either.
Right.
It's pretty dangerous to do that.
There's a lot of weight in that glass. When it comes down, it could do some damage.
What's the age of this particular window?
These are the original windows as far as I know with the house. It was built in the early 1900s.
Wow. So these windows have stood the test of time, but maybe it's time to say goodbye to these windows.
It's easier to replace them, I believe, than it is to rebuild them.
Just like most products out there in the building industry today, there's a good, better, and a best. Windows are no exception. Keith, what makes this window good?
Well, the fact that it's an all vinyl window makes it a very, very energy efficient window. The most energy efficient product we have today would be wood, but we all know what the negative part of wood is. It rots, it decays, it comes apart in the joints, that kind of stuff. The vinyl window is the second most energy efficient product compared to wood that there is on the market today. So by going to an all vinyl window all the way through, inside and out, it's got the least amount of conductivity as far as transferring heat and cold through it.
And this is a liner replacement window. What there is in the market today when you're building a new construction home, you have a new construction window and then you have replacement windows in the vinyl line. In this particular example, this is what you would call a single hung window. And what makes it single hung is you have one sash that's operational. It's the only thing that works. This is a stationary pane. That's a single hung window. Now if it was a double hung window, this would operate as well and move up and down. Benefit to a single hung window is you can actually, if you want to pull this up, you can actually take the pane and wash it inside and out depending on what is dirty there. The only downside to a single hung window is you can't clean the outside of this window without going on the outside of the home. Now I know in the way of replacement window, there are several different levels of energy efficiency in the glass. What does Ply Gem have in their windows?
You can buy straight clear glass, just like you would think of in most houses that out there today. But the least they will do is put 2 panes of glass in a window. They will not put a single pane of glass in a window of any kind. So the most lowest energy efficient, I guess if you want to call it, would be 2 pieces of clear glass with just a dead air space in between it, this is a 3/4 inch insulated glass. That's the thinnest that Ply Gem makes. So no matter what, you're always going to get 2 panes of glass.
So when you just have 2 windows together, you can also go to different low E options.
Most all their windows sold are low E glass. They use a low E 2, and what that stands for is there's 2 layers of low E put on 1 piece of glass. It's in between the airspace, because if it's not, it would actually rust and change color. It would actually turn almost purple. So it's inside the sealed airspace, but it's got 2 layers of low E on it. That reflects the heat rays both directions, back into the house when you're heating in the wintertime, back outside when it's hot outside and the sun's trying to shine through.
And cool on the
so
inside.
It gets to be a lot more energy efficient very quickly.
So when you hear somebody says low E option, it's really that low E film that's going on the pane of glass itself.
Right.
So now we have a good option here, and this is a very good window. Nothing wrong with this window at all. Price-wise, it's probably your best option in the vinyl realm as far as Ply Gem is concerned. Then we have a better option. And a couple things with this, I can already tell right off the bat, this is what you would call a double hung window. Again, bottom sash operates, and so does the top sash.
One of the benefits of that on this house especially is when you've got a window clear off the ground like this will allow both sashes to be tilted in so they can be cleaned. Otherwise you'd have to get out on a ladder, risk of falling, physical problems. So it's a lot easier to have a double hung window.
So that way you can clean and take care of the window once you have it in.
Right. Plus you can open them from the top instead of the bottom if you want the air movement across the top of the room instead of across the bottom. It gives you lots of options.
So it makes it very easy to clean, snaps right into place, very operational, and you never have to leave your home to clean these windows.
This season of Building for Better Living brought to you in part by Mark Hall Cabinetry, where everything you imagine materializes. Steve's Pest Control. Now you have a friend in the pest control business. Slumberland Furniture. The way you live, the way you save.
Now at Slumberland, all Simmons Beauty Rests are on sale. Get a Simmons Beauty Sleep Queen set, just $2.99. At 50% off, they won't last long, so hurry in. Slumberland, we put the good in good night.
Imagine style so eloquent that functionality is secondary. Imagine expert guidance and a process that's all about you. Imagine exceptional quality at a price you can feel good about. Imagine immense satisfaction. Mark Hall Cabinetry, where everything you imagine materializes.
A termite eating through the wall of my home. An infestation of ants crawling on my kitchen counter. A brown recluse spider about to bite my son. Roaches crawling in my cabinets.
If you've got a bug problem, don't call a psychiatrist. Just call me at Steve's Pest Control.
Now you got a friend in the pest control business. Steve's Pest Control.
Now at Slumberland, all Simmons Beauty Rests are on sale. Get a Simmons Beauty Sleep Queen Set, just $2.99. At 50% off, they won't last long, so hurry in. Slumberland, we put the good in good night.
Closed captioning brought to you by
on Lamone Industrial Boulevard.
So what type of window are you going to be putting in place of this once you tear it out?
I'm going to put in an all vinyl window, double hung, similar to what's here now. It's going to be low E glass, which is a coating, and then between the glass we'll have an argon gas.
Now I have an example of what you're talking about there when you say between the glass. Basically, when you say it's double pane, you got two pieces of glass right here.
Right.
And then the argon gas will be in the center of this.
Yes, in between the double panes is if you don't have argon glass, it's a void so that you don't have any moisture in there that reacts when the temperature changes. The argon gas is a more efficient material that keeps the heat and cold from transferring through the panes, so it gives it more of an insulated value.
So this particular window you're putting in has a low E film on it, and then also the argon gas in the center.
Yes.
So as far as energy efficient, is this the best that it comes?
It's right at the top of the line.
Now we move into the best line, and this is the window we installed there in Moberly for a homeowner who decided they wanted a wood look on the inside, same energy efficient factors as the other vinyl replacement windows, but have just a little bit different look and have some of those custom options. What makes this the best?
Well, there's a few things that make this the best. Number one, every step you move up, your vinyl frames, your vinyl sashes are actually a thicker material. So, you know, now from energy standpoint, they're all very, very good. This one's probably not any more energy efficient than any of the other ones. But it is a thicker window, so if you get into wider windows, you got more strength in your sash, you got more strength if you get into tall windows and the side part of your main frame. But they all do very, very well at that point. The biggest difference here is, like you said earlier, is basically the options. You can get a wood grain on it on the inside. There's 3 different colors of wood grain available. You can get different colored hardware on it. This one's got the brushed nickel hardware on it. So it's kind of like buying a car. You can start out with a basic unit and then you can add the options to it to go just about wherever you want to go with them.
People think you can reglaze these windows, you can repaint it, touch up and get this back to working.
It's just labor intensive to do all of that.
Well, I think we've covered all the basics of why you're taking this window out and putting the new window in, and looks like we have a great product in this particular window. I'm anxious to see how this all comes together. So tell me, what's the first steps in this process?
First step is we'll come along and we'll remove the storm window from the outside. And once that's out of the way, that'll allow us to take the window unit on the inside out without any problems and then reinstall the new one.
All right, well, let's get started.
Just have to push in toward the center.
Even though this is a double hung window, I noticed that obviously it's painted in place, especially the top sash. That lock's not working. I can tell right now that that's not keeping anything out. As a matter of fact, I can also tell from the inside you got nails actually holding that window down.
Right, nails, and the top sash and the bottom aren't fully extended, so there's just no way those can operate like they're intended.
Richard, probably the most important step to this replacement window is getting the measurements right, because these windows can be made to any frame size. One thing we didn't mention, how do you measure this window when you're putting your order together?
One of the first things we'll do is we'll look at the windows as they're existing. We'll have to pop them loose because you do have to open them, but you would measure the width from the inside of where the window fits into the jamb on both sides. And you'd take a check at the bottom, and then you'd check it at the top. And then the real important thing on them is you need to get down into this sill. Don't just stop at the window ledge, but you've got to get down into this area here.
Yeah, the window's gonna set right on here on this spot.
Right.
Okay.
And then measure that up to the top. And once again, from one side to the other. And most of the time you take the exact distance and subtract 1/4 inch. That gives you just a little bit of wiggle room in case your window's not quite level. It may be skewed a little bit.
So once you take your measurements, you want to take the smallest measurement.
Right.
So if this measures 36.5 at the bottom and 36.25, you want to make sure you take 36.25, subtract 1/4 inch. So you would order this unit 36 wide.
Right. Your first number is always your width. Your second number would be your height.
This season of Building for Better Living brought to you in part by Nancy Allison, Shelter Insurance. We're your shield, we're your shelter. Carpet One, beautiful, made affordable.
I want to talk to you about my friends at Carpet One Floor and Home. Did you know they've been in business since 1968? Scott Bradley and his staff have been taking care of my flooring needs for years. Their showroom is the nicest between St. Louis and Kansas City, with over 2,000 square feet dedicated to tile alone. Plus, Carpet One has products that are covered by the beautiful guarantee. If you don't like your flooring for any reason, they'll replace it free. How's that for peace of mind? I'm Paul Pepper, and Carpet One Floor and Home is a friend of mine.
We're Shelter Insurance.
We know you don't stay in business for more than 60 years unless you treat customers right.
We think insurance is better when it relies as much on humanity as it does on technology.
And we know what the weather is like in your area because we live in your area.
Shelter Insurance. For your auto, home, and life. We're your shield. We're your shelter.
Get the insurance coverage you need at the right price. Call Nancy Allison today.
Scout is going through a stage. She loves to flush her toys down the toilet. So when the toilet backed up, I called my mom and said, "Help." She said, "Call Mr. Reuter Plumbing." Mr. Reuter showed up on time. They were courteous and professional, nice and neat, and did a great job. I can see why people refer Mr. Reuter. Now it's my turn. Call Mr. Reuter.
Closed captioning brought to you by
On Lamone Industrial Boulevard.
Richard, the concept behind replacement windows is just brilliant. I love the way that you can use your existing framework and put a window right in place. You don't have to tear all this out. Basically, this replacement window is going to fit right in there just like that. It stop trim. It does exactly what it says it does. It stops that window from falling out, sits right in place. Of course, with anything, especially built in the 1900s, we've got a little settling, so we're probably going to have to figure out where this framework is, plumb, level, that sort of thing. But we'll get this window in place and then we'll attach it in the appropriate spot. Got it?
Tell you what, yeah, let me have it this way. The tough part's going to be clearing those rollers on the side. If you could hold that there, I'm going to grab a ladder.
Gotcha. Before it was just the frame. There you go.
Check it for margins on both sides. And here's where the old house comes into the new technology. Our frame is not exactly square, so this corner is going to have some space. This one will be tight. That corner will have some space, and that will be tight. But
just because everything's just a little shifted here.
There's a little screw that I can push back against the jamb to close this gap.
and you're pushing this screw out so that way it pushes up tight against the existing framework.
Sits out in the frame and gets you the right clearance between the window and the jamb for your minimal air transfer back and forth.
So that way, when you start, like when I'm going to over exaggerate here, but when you start it may be like this. Well, when you put that wedge in there, it'll actually tighten this seal up.
Get the trim pieces ready for the side, and just before installation we'll run a bead of sealant around this all the way around, and then set those pieces of wood in and nail them tight. That keeps your airflow from coming around the outside of the window.
So as Richard talked about, what you want to do is you've got a gap here between the window and the existing frame, and it's tight, but you're always going to have a little bit of space there. So some things you can do, stuff insulation in here or caulk both inside and out before you put your trim. So I'm going to run a bead of caulk on the inside here and just get it to where I don't see any light. And this will all be covered up, doesn't have to be pretty, so if you're not an expert at running caulk, as I like to say it, then you can you know, just put it on there. You're going to cover it up with trim. Now Richard, once you have the inside stop trim put in, you've sealed it up on the inside. On the outside, you've done all the sealing up. A nice finishing touch. Not saying you have to, but the whole idea behind a replacement window is to make it maintenance free.
Right.
So you can wrap the existing wood trim with metal, and that's what you've done here.
Right. This is a vinyl coated aluminum with a slight wood grain texture on it, and we'll bend all the profiles necessary to cover all of the wood that's exposed, and then caulk the edges where it meets the window and meets the siding. Same thing down here, so that there's no maintenance needed for this window ever again, except maybe a hosing down with a hose. A very important thing too is to make sure on a tilt-out window that you raise it enough to get your hand underneath it before you open it. You can actually open it without raising it, but it breaks the pivot hinges at the bottom. Mm-hmm. That's one of the callbacks I get from people that, oh, I forgot to raise that up, and you know, that's something you always want to remember, is raise them up before you do that.
We're trying a new siding product called Diamond Coat.
Unlike the fiber cement sidings and stuff, only come in a 12-foot length. This one's 16. So what's the benefits of that? Number one, you have 33% less seams on a house.
Mm-hmm. The last two bills were $1.29 for electricity, and then the other one was about $10 for electricity for the month.